TNT Evilution started as a fan project, a set of 32 maps from the development team, Team TNT, and it was to be released online for free like many custom maps and fan projects were and still are. Just hours before Evilution was to be published, John Romero brokered a deal with Team TNT to release this megawad officially, along with the second megawad, the Plutonia Experiment, together forming Final Doom. They postponed the release about a year and a half for Plutonia to be finished, and during that time, there was considerable community backlash. So to earn back some of that good favor within the community, Team TNT would work on and release a replacement megawad, Icarus Alien Vanguard. Final Doom would be released in 1996, 2 years after Doom 2, alongside other FPS games like Duke Nukem 3D and Quake, two far more advanced FPS titles. So the lack of new content beyond the levels themselves is a bit disappointing. These titles could have been elevated so much more if they had new enemies or weapons, a power-up or two. That would help these stand out from the countless other community-created maps even more, and give them good reason to be commercially released. That being said, let's see how well Evilution uses Doom 2's resources. Before playing through this entry, all I knew about it was that it was poorly received, and it's notorious for having hitscan bullet hell, which honestly doesn't sound bad to me. Thinking back to something like Thy Flesh Consumed, M1 Hell Beneath, hitscan bullet hell can be done in an interesting and engaging way. There's even an entire subgenre of shoot-em-ups built around the concept of throwing massive waves of projectiles at you for you to have to play around. Of course it's not exactly the same, but the concept of what TNT was supposed to be is really appealing to me. The main design philosophy of Evilution is having these large open rooms dressed with all types of zombie men and a variation of other monster types to mix things up. You'll often be thrown into the middle of intimidating squads of hit scanners without any real solution to these encounters. They will fuck you up, and the only way to deal with them is to play with precision. You can't always take your time to peek around corners, picking off foes one at a time, playing cautiously. Instead, you're going to be dying and retrying, memorizing enemy placements, trying different weapons, or switching back and forth to use the optimal tool for each encounter. Out of 32 maps, I'd say probably about 10 of them are pretty tough to get through. Not from a difficulty standpoint, rather they just aren't very fun. Plenty times the maps feel unfinished or as if they were intended to be deathmatch maps and quickly and lazily converted to single-player maps. Maps like Crater, for example, aren't necessarily horrible, they just feel unfinished. There's so many superfluous areas that just don't need to exist. Crater starts off inside a warehouse with many empty, useless rooms with nothing but a zombie or small ammo pickup. Then you go outside to the titular Crater area, and it's cool, but there's not much there. There's 2 Revenant corners, some ammo, a Baron. Then you go up this balcony and there's another Baron and a key, which gives you access to an underground area that is way larger than it needs to be. There's also a second underground area. It's the Secret Waterway. There's absolutely nothing down here, no reason to be here other than there's enemies down here to kill, I guess. If you're going for 100% playthroughs, you have to go down here just to kill monsters that aren't a threat to you otherwise. It just exists just to exist. I don't get it. This map seems like it would be great for multiplayer, but as a mission, it just feels oddly empty and pointless. More playtime should be spent in the Crater, rather exploring pointless dead ends in a basement or a waterway. There is some cool scenery down in the basement. I mean, it is part of a useless section that just loops the end of the map to the beginning of the map. It's a one-way, so you can't use it as a sequence break to beat the game early, but it's kind of cool with like this Nukage Falls kind of set piece, but gameplay-wise, it doesn't need to exist. The massive open rooms seen in Metal, as well as many others, just don't really work for me. You enter this grand hall and the perimeter is lined with chain gunners that are too far away and really high up, making them very difficult to target. But they don't have any issue at all targeting you, making this room not necessarily difficult, more so just annoying and also uninteresting. If there was more architecture to cover behind, or if the chain gunners were easier to reach, I wouldn't mind it as much. But then after you get through this, you have to wait for these lifts to rise, and then you lower them back down. That way you can ride them back up. It hurts the pacing for an already bad map. Dead Zone is a great example of a poorly designed layout. It centers around this nonsensical architecture resembling some modern art condo. It's ugly, it doesn't flow well together, it's a bit confusing at times with how the floor layout twists and turns around on itself, and I think it's probably the ugliest designed map I've seen in a while. Habitat also has an issue with superfluous sections of the map. It's a pretty big, large mission, mostly taking place in this underground waterway tunnel system, all of which is not necessary. The exit's pretty close to the map's start, and it's not barred by any switches or keys. On top of that, there's already way too many unappealing underground tunnel system maps in this campaign, like with Baron's Den, a massive sprawling cave system map that could have benefited greatly from being trimmed down half in size. A lot of Evolution's maps would be considerably better if the layout was trimmed down and more densely packed with enemies. There's a lot of Evolution stages that suffer from this, but most notably are Central Processing and Administration Center. They just don't know when to end! Central Processing has you run around the halls of this map several times, clearing out enemies again and again, each time taking a different door to clear through a pathway before having you jump back into the same central lava pit for the next pathway's key. It's tedious, it's redundant, it's just dreadful. There's nothing really remarkably stand out great about this map. It's not awful, but even worse is Administration Center. This map is massive. It takes place in a lab that takes over half an hour to get through, but it feels way longer. Having the two of these back-to-back is absolutely painful to play through. You can have a longer map in Doom work well. I just feel like these drag on longer than they need to, and they don't have any real purpose of being longer. Now, all that said, there's still a lot to love about Evolution. Like I said, 2/3 of the map that do work well range from okay to stellar. Some maps like Wormhole are fine enough and have a neat concept. You start off in this lab area, but making your way to the basement, you'll find this gateway to an alternate, more corrupt and evil dimension. I like the concept a lot, but where this map drops the ball is that the entirety of the basement and alternate dimension are missable, easily so. My first playthrough, I didn't even know it existed. I only found out about it after beating Evolution and watching high skill players show off tech and secrets. This map should be designed around the concept, forcing you to find that basement, explore that alternate reality, before returning you to your home dimension to finish the level. You can actually beat this map pretty quickly by just running a circuit around the perimeter of the lab before heading straight to the exit. Some of my favorite maps from TNT are short, very densely packed areas filled with hitscan bullet hell. But the layouts have great flow and are really fun, oftentimes have some jump scare monster closets that are very manageable, or have some kind of good solution to them. Like in Hangar, when you enter the shooting range area, the walls open up, making you prime target practice for a bunch of hangry zombie men. But if you just hit this button on the wall, it'll raise that wall back up, giving you the cover you need, until later on in the map when you're well prepared to handle these chain gunners. Also later on in this map, there's this shrine room housing a soul sphere to lure you in, triggering a trap having you cornered by Hell Knights and Revenants. But there's plenty of columns that you can take cover behind, and if you strafe around these demons properly while avoiding getting snagged up by the architecture, you can get them to end fight and take care of themselves for you. Redemption can be intimidating with its brutal traps, each closet housing an intimidating amount of chain gunners or mancubi, and with not a lot of cover, but just enough to make it manageable. And I like having these 2 yard areas as well as the chapel room. There's some great environmental diversity here, and this map has some dead simple vibes to it, which, funny enough, this map was made by Tom Mustang, who made the Master Levels map Paradox, which also seems inspired by Dead Simple. Storage facility is cool because it's like Doom 1's containment area, with the shipping crate maze warehouse, but it's set in this hell on earth aesthetic. While inside the warehouse, exploring to find one of 2 keys needed to unlock the exit, both aren't required. After picking one up, waves of zombie-men and demons start to pour in, with an archvile following them through the gateway, reviving everything that you've already killed. This really puts the pressure on, and can get overwhelming very fast. TNT also pulls off longer maps pretty well, like a nukage process. This map can be pretty difficult and has you run through the processing area out into this arena housing mancubi, imps, shotgunners, and making it out to the yard doesn't mean you're safe. Far from it. Out here you have pinkies and revenants and imps to deal with. After clearing the yard and grabbing the yellow key, you have to backtrack through it, but it's now populated by shotgunners and mancubi, and if you thought that's tough, now there's a cyber demon gunning you down too. This map does well to incorporate backtracking in a pleasant way by having you run through small hubs in different ways while encountering different groups of enemies, giving them a fresh feel but intense vibes each time through. The following map, Steelworks, is another longer map that plays through pretty nicely. Starting the map, you spawn in right next to the exit, but it's barred by a red key. Running through the factory searching for that key, upon reaching a dead end, you can see out this window into the starting area. However, now it's populated by a spider mastermind. So your entire run back to that room to exit, key in hand, the only thinking about is how you're going to deal with this encounter. Will you kill him? Will you try to run around him and just go straight for the exit? I think it's done pretty well here. Lunar Mining Project is another map that has a pretty neat layout. You're on this base, it's very well decorated. There's a sleeping quarters fit with a bed and wardrobe, a computer area with this chair nearby next to the computer, and towards the back of this map, you take a lift down into this mine shaft. And unlike other tunnel levels, this one's a little shorter but also more maze-like, and it has these curtain textures to limit visibility without using it as a door that you can use for cover to cheese out encounters with infighting. The only issue with this map is it's too empty. Even on Ultra Violence, they should have crammed this map full of chain gunners and pinkies. You walk the hallways and there's maybe 2 or 3 shotgunners. You look out into the courtyard, there's maybe 5, 10 at tops enemies out there. It just feels so empty. I think this is another case of a map being designed for deathmatch mode, but quickly and lazily kind of converted into a single player mission. All it really needs is increased enemy spawns and it's good to go, really. Quarry is another super short map like Lunar Mining Project. These both feel like they were designed for online multiplayers, but I think that Quarry does it a little bit better. It just feels less empty than Lunar Mining Project does, and there's multiple routes for you to have to run through. This would be a really good multiplayer map, and honestly, it still makes a pretty good single-player mission. You can't talk about Evolution without mentioning Mount Pain. This map is a notorious bloodbath, housing the most monsters out of every classic Doom map. You start off in this house of horrors, immediately faced with numerous shotgunners, chain gunners, imps, a crusher. I love how this map starts, but the middle section takes you through this long, sprawling sewer system scarcely lined with imps, killing the pacing of what should have been one of the best classic Doom missions, before returning you to the more well-designed part of the map, the last part having you run through newly opened sections of the house before escaping outside. This map is long like Administration Center or Central Processing, but if you cut out the sewers or maybe rework them a little bit to make them better, it could have been a spectacular map. It still is good, but that sewer system drawback just kind of kills it for me. Of course, the 2 bonus missions are great fun. The second of the 2, Caribbean, sends Doomguy off on vacation when Hellspawn arrives. You have to clear out the resort while every step you take opens up another challenging monster closet, one after the other. The aesthetics of this map might be a little bit lackluster, but what carries this map for me is the layout and the enemy placements offering such a fun, action-packed challenge. The first bonus mission, Pharaoh, is of course the more interesting of the 2 since it was blessed with having new textures. It's set in King Tut's tomb, and you have to explore a pyramid and make your way out alive. What makes this map similar to others is there's plenty of open areas for you to be made easy target practice, but it feels well done here, and it especially works well with this pyramid concept. And if you don't like the map, well, you can sequence break your way through to a quick ending. Now for my top 3 favorite maps. Number 3 is Processing Area. This map is super compact and dense with great variety of demons and zombie men. The layout is designed very well, having each room flow well in terms of aesthetics and gameplay. The foyer has this fountain, giving the building some personality, and there's a few outdoor yard areas that are great for picking off mobs one at a time, as well as adding diversity of environment. The Nukage room brings an Archvile into the mix, but having him surrounded by barrels of fun, you can use those to your advantage. This is probably the most replayable map for me due to its size while not compromising on difficulty and layout. Super fun map. In second place, I have Heck, made by one of the Casali brothers. This map starts off in a central hub above a chasm of lava, having you run through 3 pathways to grab the 3 keys needed to unlock the exit. Each path has a different design philosophy to it. One is very maze-like, hiding a zombie man around every corner. The next pathway hosts a yard full of lost souls, pinks, and a few mancubi, but after you grab the key, it triggers a monster closet full of dozens of revenants, and you better be prepared for them. The third pathway gives strong the spirit world vibes from Doom 2 in layout and aesthetics. I really hope this is an accurate preview for things to come in the Plutonia experiment, because this is one of the best maps in TNT, despite not feeling very much like a TNT map. It does feel more aligned with Caribbean, which was also made by the other Casali brother. The two would go on to make Plutonia by themselves. The thing with this being second place, it's so close to number 1, it's honestly splitting hairs here because they honestly might even be tied. I could understand someone putting this in first place, but for me, I think that my number 1 pick just barely edges it out, and the fact that this is more of a Plutonia style map and not really a TNT style map, it just makes my first place pick even more of a first place pick for me. That first place pick being Stronghold. It's brutal, unforgiving, and unfair, but you know what? It's well designed. You can learn the layout, the encounters, and get good at them. Stronghold is a perfect example of TNT's shine. Every room is tougher than the last. With every step you take, you could be triggering a monster closet behind you, full of chain gunners and shotgunners packed like sardines, coming in wave after wave. It feels endless at times. With just shy of 300 mobs, this map has the second most enemies out of all the classic Doom games, behind Mount Pain. But it's so well paced, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. This is exactly what every Evolution map should be. Dense, compact, well-designed, brutal bullet hells. Casuals need not enter. This is Evolution. A top 3 honorable mention, and a map that we can't ignore. Evolution's final boss Icon of Sin map, Last Call. It starts off with this very interesting puzzle. Each platform is fitted with a different colored torch. Step on the wrong one, instant death. The pattern you need to memorize is shown to you in the map's starting room. You can write these down or try to memorize their pattern. Red, double green, blue green 3 times, green, red blue twice. I'm sure there's better ways to do it, but a couple times you can get hints from being surrounded by 2 of the same color, meaning the only 2 options would be backtracking or the correct path forward. It's neat to see puzzles like this in a Doom game. You don't really see much of this. The next few rooms are just a gauntlet of tough challenges, the first being this Revenant Sentry ambush, and even though they're locked in place, their homing missiles keep the pressure on, as well as having 2 Arachnotrons thrown into the mix. Following is one last encounter with the Cyber Demon, but he's easy enough to take out. If you're well prepared for him, he'll often get trapped by architecture and he'll be unable to hit you, while you can pick him off easily. And lastly, you get to the Icon of Sin itself. Unlike Doom 2 where you have to ride a lift, hitting the sweet spot on the way up, you can easily aim at him from this set of stairs. You're not going to be safe while doing so, but you should have plenty of health and ammo to still deal with him properly. Compared to Doom 2's Icon of Sin and Master Level's Mephisto Mausoleum, I think this is my favorite Sin map of the three. Mephisto's is super fun, but I really like the interesting puzzle this one starts off with, and being shorter is quite appealing. There's a lot to love about Evilution, and with some reworking and some polish to it, it could be really good. It has potential, but 10 bad maps out of 32 is a considerable chunk. When TNT hits, it's pretty decent, at times better than Doom 2 and Master Levels. But when TNT misses, it really fucking misses. It can be a slog to get through at times, and those maps really stick out in your mind way more than the 24 above average maps will. If Evilution was 20-ish maps like Master Levels, it would have been a lot better. But the way it is kind of disappointing. TNT Evilution in concept sounds so amazing, but out of all the official classic Doom campaigns I've played so far, it might be the worst executed, and the most inconsistent, going back and forth from some of the best maps I've played yet to many of the worst. If you haven't played TNT yet, but you love Doom 1 and 2, and maybe you even liked Master Levels, I'd say check it out. And if you hate Evilution, I don't blame you, but there are some great maps here. If you liked this video, please like and comment down below what's your favorite Evilution map, or maybe if you don't like it, what's your most hated. I'm curious because this is a pretty well-hated release, but I do know that there are some TNT appreciators out there. If you hate Master Levels and Evilution, well then which one of the two do you hate more? Anyways, next up is Plutonia, so stay tuned. And of course, thanks for watching.